There are three ways to make a living in this business. Be first, be smarter, or cheat.
Whether you watch the full movie of Margin Call or only watch the iconic senior partners meeting, you probably remember this line. In the context of the scene, Peter Sullivan has just explained the danger that the company is in.
If those assets decrease by just 25% and remain on our books, that loss would be greater than the current market capitalization of this entire company.
John Tuld asked Jared Cohen and Sarah Robertson what they will do. When they don't respond immediately, he says the most famous line in Margin Call.
There are three ways to make a living in this business. Be first, be smarter, or cheat. No, I don't cheat. And although I like to think we have some pretty smart people in this building, it sure is a hell of a lot easier to just be first.
Jared says,
sell it all today.
And so that is what John decides to do. Of the three options, be first, be smarter, or cheat, Jared's plan allows them to be first. John asks Sam Rogers if this is even possible. While Sam has reservations, he explains how it would be done. The movie progresses from there, with the characters grappling with this decision, the traders doing a fire sale, and then the movie is over. The credits roll. However, is there more to this line? This phrase, be first, be smarter, or cheat, was the tagline on the movie posters and on the DVD cover. While the line is memorable, the physical media from the movie's release directs the audience to pay attention to this line before the film even begins. But on Netflix, it doesn't appear anywhere in the description. So, if we look deeper into this tagline, what will we find? Here is what I found. The film's writer and director, J.C. Shandor, structured three characters to represent each part of the phrase. Someone is first, someone is smarter, and someone cheats. It's a brilliant way to organize the script. These three characters help push the plot forward, and because of these three characters, the firm can survive. So, who is first? Eric Dale is first. When we meet Eric, he's being laid off. While HR claims that most of the floor is being let go, he is suspicious. He asks Will Emerson who ordered his layoff. It's implied that it was Sarah. Eric says,
I knew it. I knew I should have gone to her last year.
Wasn't anyone, Eric?
This year-ago conversation gets brought up again.
This last year, we would not be in this position if we had done what I...
And again.
Your point was passed on. I need you to know that.
In the film. Now, the film leaves room for interpretation about the conversations that happened a year ago. It is my interpretation that when the firm started packaging the MBS products, they knew they were risky, but they did not understand how devastating they could be. Eric was the first person to see the potential problem, but he could not come up with a model that showed the extent of the problem. He talked to Sarah about his concerns. The film implies that Will and Sam also knew about his concerns. Sarah discussed Eric's concerns with John and Jared. While they saw that there could be a potential problem with the MBS products, there was too much money to be made. Without a complete model, they probably expected some major loss, but not, as Seth says.
Well, the losses are greater than the current value of the company.
So they decide to keep going with their strategy, and for Jared and Sarah to take the fall if a problem ever arose. Eric was laid off to cover up what they knew and to stop him from investigating it further. Eric is a smart guy. When Will finds him later in the film, Eric reveals
I was an engineer by trade.
he rattles off numbers about a bridge he helped build.
That's a combined 847,000 miles of driving a day, or 25,410,000 miles a month.
And does equations with ease.
At what, let's say 50 miles an hour? So that's what? That's 134,164,800 hours.
Although he is smart, and he was the first to see the problem, he could not complete the model. It would take someone even smarter. Peter Sullivan is smarter. While Eric is being escorted out of the building, Peter lingers. He wants to say thank you. Eric hands him a flash drive with the unfinished model on it. This action closes out the first 11 minutes of the film. After everyone leaves the office, Peter begins working on the model. We can't be sure how long it takes Peter to complete it. The trailer for Margin Call and the scenes in the film provide slightly different timelines, but overall it takes him several hours to complete it. I love this moment where Peter realizes the severity of the projected losses. The long note in the score seems like it's being pulled and stretched, like it's slowing down. This mirrors what Peter says later in the film.
What this model shows is the music, so to speak, just slowing.
Peter, in a panic, calls Seth and asks Seth and Will to return to the office. When Seth and Will arrive, Peter says that he started working on the model, and he says,
I start to get into it a little bit, and I realize that the only thing that he's missed, it's just not good, Will.
While Eric had been working on this model probably for around a year, Peter figured out what was missing in a few hours. Both Will and Sam repeat that Peter was the one to find the missing piece. Later, in the first meeting scene, Sarah asks about Peter's background. He says,
I hold a doctorate in engineering, specialty in propulsion from MIT.
Or, as Jared summarizes,
You're a rocket scientist.
As a side note, Eric and Peter both have engineering backgrounds. Perhaps Eric mentored Peter because of their non-traditional backgrounds, and that is why Peter wanted to say thank you. After the first meeting scene, Sarah returns from examining the model and says that Peter killed it, and the previous formula is worthless. Peter discovering the problem carries the film to its midway point. Peter also shows his intelligence by seeing the implications of this model outside of the firm. While looking for Eric with Seth, he says,
Look at these people. Wandering around with absolutely no idea what's about to happen.
He knows that the fallout from this will affect the entire economy.
You will kill the market for years. It's over.
And everyday people. He is the first character to express this. The stage is set. Eric Dale was first to see a potential problem. Peter Sullivan was smarter and showed the full scope of the problem. And now, for the firm to survive, it is time for the third part of the tagline. It is time for someone to cheat. But who cheats? Before we discuss who cheats, there is a crucial line from the senior partners meeting that I want to talk about. When Sam and John are arguing about the fire sale, Sam says this crucial line.
And you're selling something that you know has no value.
If someone sells something they know is broken, defective, or has no value, that is unethical behavior. It's the basis of some class action lawsuits, and even cases on daytime court shows. While selling the worthless MBS products could be legal, as Ramesh Shah says,
they can slow you down. They can't stop you. It's yours to sell.
It is ethically questionable. To me, it's cheating. Do you think it's cheating? Drop a comment down below and let's discuss. So, who cheats? It could be the system overall, as both Will and John give impassioned defenses of it.
The only reason that they all get to continue living like kings is because we got our fingers on the scales in their favor.
It's just money. It's made up. It's all just the same thing over and over. We can't help ourselves.
However, I think the concept can still be pinned to one character. This character pushes the plot forward. So, is it John who authorizes the fire sale?
If I made you, how would you do this?
Is it Sam who leads the fire sale?
People are going to say some very nasty things about what we do here today.
Is it Will who openly lies while selling the MBS products?
You guys so worked on that.
You think they tell me anything? All I know is that today my loss is your gain.
No. It is none of them. Jared Cohen cheats. In the first meeting scene, Jared asks Sam,
Sam, how long under normal operations would it take your people to clear that from our books?
Sam seems outraged and offended at the question. Later, Sam says to Jared,
Jared, you cannot be doing what you're thinking of doing.
While not revealed to the audience until later, Sam understands that Jared will recommend a fire sale. Recommending a fire sale is what propels the film into its second half, coming in about midway through the film. While the first half of the film is about defining the problem, the second half is about solving it. There are other ways that Jared seems to have questionable ethics, and that Jared seems to cheat. After Will, Peter, and Seth leave the room during the first meeting, Seth and Peter express surprise that Sam's boss could be so young. Will says it happens all the time, and says about Jared, the kid's a killer. Before the senior partners meeting, Jared, Sarah, and Sam have a conversation. When it appears Sarah and Jared will start discussing decisions made a year ago, Sam begins leaving and says, I don't want to hear this. How do you think I've stuck around this place so long? Later, outside the parking garage, Jared and Will have a conversation. Their conversation suggests that Jared's version of what's right is different from Will and Sam's, and that Will does not have a high opinion of Jared. As mentioned earlier, the film implies that a year ago, Jared and Sarah agreed that they would take the fall if a problem ever arose with the MBS products. However, Jared is quick to throw Sarah under the bus. Before the senior partners meeting, Sarah says that they were wrong about the previous formula, and Jared says that Sarah was wrong. In the elevator after the senior partners meeting, Sarah brings up their previous agreement and warns him not to screw her on this, saying they both know that they will both take the fall. Jared replies that he's not sure if he does know that. And so, when John talks to Sarah after the elevator scene, he tells her that she will be the one to take the blame, despite the previous agreement. Jared cheats. As John says, there are 3 ways to make a living in this business. Be first, be smarter, or cheat. However, to survive, you may need all 3. That wraps up my breakdown of Margin Call's most famous line. What do you think? Do you have a different interpretation of this line? Drop a comment down below. And please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching.